I bet that you haven't played the best game that Games Workshop have ever made, because most people haven't. After all, Games Workshop are best known for Warhammer Space Marines and producing thousands and thousands and thousands of books. But they also happen to produce an incredible miniature wargame for Lord of the Rings. Don't turn off, don't switch off. I get it, it's an easy game for wargamers to overlook. Even Games Workshop have overlooked it for years now. While they're busy cranking out the 29th Space Marine Lieutenant model, which, now that I think about it, the rate of those really has slowed down recently. The Middle-earth strategy battle game has quietly flown under the radar for most hobbyists. It's fair to say that it's pretty niche, especially for a Games Workshop product. And sure, there's still releases happening for it. Games Workshop are still selling Lord of the Rings books. They'll never stop selling books. But they even come out with the odd model for the miniature line every so often. But aside from those occasional releases, it's a pretty untouched game. It's basically sat on the same edition for years now. Like the House of Ecthelion, it has languished and fallen into disrepair. Which, when you think about it, is a pretty far cry from its original status as the Games Workshop premier game. Oh, that's right, all the way back in the lofty days of the early 2000s, the Lord of the Rings miniature war game was like the Games Workshop game. It was a huge moneymaker for Games Workshop, and it brought a ton of new hobbyists into miniature wargaming. Forget Horus Heresy, the third arm of Games Workshop was the venerable Lord of the Rings product line. And it was such a moneymaker for Games Workshop that when the bubble of Lord of the Rings kinda burst in the mid-2000s, it almost took Games Workshop with it. Yeah, it almost killed Games Workshop. So, you know, Horus Heresy, wonder how long that'll last. But since then, the Lord of the Rings has never quite managed to capture the public's imagination. At least not in quite the same way. What, y'all didn't like the Hobbit movies? And as a result, the Middle-earth strategy battle game was never quite granted the status of Warhammer. I mean, if a CGI Legolas jumping from barrel to barrel couldn't do it, what can pull Lord of the Rings back into the public imagination? What the hell is wrong with people? What else could they want? So no one cares about the Lord of the Rings miniature game. Okay, I get it. I mean, sure, Zorpazorp does, but every single time I talk to him, he responds with a Lord of the Rings quote. He does not count. And the popularity of the Middle-earth strategy battle game can be pretty well summed up by the fact that its Wikipedia article still contains hyperlinks to Angelfire websites. Not exactly ahead of the curve right now. But what's this? Last week, Games Workshop teased a huge reveal for the Lord of the Rings. In fact, they promised more than a single reveal. They promised an event. For the first time ever, a Middle-earth strategy battles game event. It's like 2001 all over again. Late is the hour that Games Workshop choose to appear, but I'll take it. And obviously, this makes sense from a business perspective. Amazon have their new Rings of Power TV show coming out soon. And regardless of whether that's good or bad, it's getting people talking about Lord of the Rings again. Obviously, Games Workshop want to capitalize on that. Okay, sure, and in anticipation for this event, I was really excited. In their announcement, Games Workshop said that one of the reveals would be tied in with the Two Towers. And that's my favorite movie of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. What can I say? I love Grima Wormtongue. There's something about all that grease. Rawr. And yes, I am a basic bitch. My own Middle-earth miniature army of choice is Isengard, the place that they took those hobbits to. I'm the equivalent of a Lord of the Rings Space Marine player, but this seems to imply that there's going to be something good for Isengard players like me. Maybe an X-rated Grima Wormtongue model. So, what have Games Workshop revealed in the biggest event ever for the Lord of the Rings miniature game? What is it? What's it gonna be? It could be anything. It's a new starter set. No! This is a terrible start. Oh no, no, no. So yes, indeed, the first thing Games Workshop showed was a new starter set.
Oh, Discourse, why aren't you happy? The new starter set is set in Osgiliath, and Osgiliath is cool.
Yes, I will say, this new starter set is neat. Osgiliath is a fun setting. Faramir won it, Faramir lost it. Okay, I like it. But the problem is that this new starter set is replacing the best starter set that Games Workshop currently produce. Arguably one of the best that they have ever made. I am, of course, talking about the Battle for Pelennor Fields starter box. This is the starter set that Games Workshop is, or was, until the time of this announcement, selling for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. And to give you an idea of how good this was, you were getting 84 miniatures inside this starter box. A dozen of which were cavalry, including Theoden, King of Rohan. You also got a troll and the Witch King of Angmar riding atop a fell beast. All of this for $170 or £105. Though, to be honest, I frequently saw it on sale for around £80 or $130. Now, it's not blowing your stovepipe hat off in terms of value if you've ever played a non-Games Workshop product, sure. But for a Games Workshop product, it's absolutely one of the best value kits that Games Workshop produced. It was an excellent starter and 100% would have made my list of the best miniature wargame starter sets of all time. So I guess I'm crossing that off the list now. But yeah, I guess it looked ridiculous on the shelf beside all those Warhammer starter boxes, all those big bundles. You know, the ones that contain half as many miniatures for more money? Yeah, I guess that was too embarrassing for Games Workshop to continue to field. So goodbye, Pelennor Fields. I'm afraid to say the Games Workshop eye is watching us. And just like Sauron's glare, it has moved westwards and spotted this particular chink in the value armor of Games Workshop. So now, Lord of the Rings is getting the 2022 Games Workshop treatment. So what does that mean for Lord of the Rings? Well, it means that likely this new starter box will be significantly more expensive than the Battle for Pelennor Fields. On top of that, there's less models inside as well. Almost half as many. You get 51 miniatures inside this new starter box, none of which are cavalry, unless you count the new Gothmog model, but he's just a single hero unit. You do get a single troll, but the rest are infantry. Not to mention the fact that the Gondor force seems to be illegal. In terms of the rules, it looks like there's way too many archers there, so I don't know how that's gonna shake out. But on top of that, it looks like some of the units in here are locked into this starter box. It's exclusives again. At least as far as we know anyway, they didn't really say otherwise on the stream, and one of them is Faramir. And sure, Denethor is probably happy that Faramir's locked inside this box, but I'm not. Faramir was the best boy. In fairness, the Games Workshop, they have innovated here a little bit. They have these action pose miniatures, and they look a little bit weird to me, honestly. But they are positioned as if they're running around the ruins of Osgiliath. Games Workshop have cleverly and helpfully included some alternatives to the Osgiliath ruins here. Those elements can be replaced with forest parts. So, you know, I mean, taking our victories where we can find them. Included in the box as well is some overpriced terrain and the new rulebook as well. As a starter set, it's okay. You know, ignoring the fact that, once again, it seems like there might be exclusive models in here. And secondly, the Games Workshop are being incredibly coy about whether or not this rulebook is going to be released separately. And ultimately, the fact is that this new starter set just is a downgrade on the previous one. And no amount of kind of hype train can really make up for that. The last one was just so good. And yes, for those paying attention, it does seem like there's a new edition of Lord of the Rings coming out. Luckily though, Games Workshop have been generous. They have decided not to invalidate the last 10 years of printing out expansion books for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. So the new edition isn't just a complete redo, it's what they're calling a 0.5 edition. And what that means in practice is that it just seems to be the same rulebook, but with FAQs printed inside it as well. Which isn't unwelcome. The Middle-earth strategy battle game is the best game the Games Workshop make. In terms of the rules, in terms of the combat system. Fight me on this, maybe one day I'll do a video on it. Tell me if you're interested. But it's hard for me to get excited about this potential new breath of life into the Lord of the Rings with a new rulebook if I'm not even sure whether it's going to be included outside of this starter box, which I'm not gonna buy. Because the moment I saw this box get announced, I was one of the lucky few who managed to snag themselves the final bundles of the Pelennor Fields. And this is kind of the Games Workshop MO, right? Horse Heresy was the same. They put the rulebook inside their massive box set there too. And then about a month later, they released the Horse Heresy rules separately. But Necromunda Ash Wastes was the same. They put the rulebook for Necromunda Ash Wastes inside a big massive box for that game. And then they haven't released them yet. They haven't released them at all. So we can't really take anything for granted these days. And for those who don't know this, which probably will be most people, the Middle-earth strategy battle game has been like the one game produced by Games Workshop that has sort of avoided a lot of the worst excesses that I have indulged in over the last couple of years. At least in terms of exclusives and big bundled box sets. And as a game, it was a lot better for that. But now we know, good things can't last forever. Inevitably, the second age must give way to the third. So here we are now, in the depths of despair. And speaking of big bundles, oh, there's more. Lots more. Games Workshop have also revealed the new battle hosts too. There's one for Rohan, there's one for Isengard, there's one for Mordor, and one for Gondor. So you're getting all your main factions, all the real factions. Let's be honest. But I will say, these are good. A refreshing change for a Games Workshop bundle. I really like these. I actually think they're great for consumers. They represent a great way to package and sell bundles to customers. They put me in mind of what the start collecting boxes used to be for Age of Sigmar. You know, before they got replaced by those worse collecting boxes. These battle hosts come with a leader and 2 squads of troops, either infantry or cavalry. And there's nothing new in here, just some old sprues bundled together and put in a box and sold, presumably with a discount. And that includes the leaders in here, by the way. None of those are exclusive to the box, none of them are special models in any way, they're just the regular things sold in a bundle. And as old stuff, sure, there's nothing really new to offer veterans here. If you're already an Isengard player like me, the Battle Host box isn't going to be really of interest to you. But these do represent a clear and easy way for a new player to get invested in a faction. This is something that the game has been lacking for a while now. So I like that. On top of all of this, the rules for the models inside these boxes are being released for free online. That's great, that's really good. Huzzah! I mean, that should already have always been the case for all of the Games Workshop miniature lines, by the way, but I mean, you know, baby steps for big babies. It's a move in the right direction, at least. One thing to note though is that these will live or die depending on the price. This better not be another Old Foes bundle with a 0 discount. Games Workshop are hoping that these boxes can convince Warhammer players to buy into a completely new system. Then they're gonna have to price themselves pretty competitively. As we saw with Horus Heresy, you really have to defy expectations in order to convince 40k players to buy into a new system. You just can't hit the same price point as a 40k box. So, I hope these Battle Force boxes are really cheap. I'm talking incredibly cheap here, as cheap as Denethor's catering bill. So, I like them, put them in the tick section of the reveals. Next up was something that was hotly anticipated by a lot of fans of the Middle-earth strategy battle game. This is something that many people have been waiting for, and indeed it came. It was a reveal for Glorfindel. Glorfindel. He looks pretty good. He's an elf or something, I guess. I don't know. He's a book-only character. I haven't read the books. I've only watched the movies. Too many description of trees, and I checked out after the 3-page long poem. So I don't know much about him at all. He looks like a good model. His horse looks great. It's nice to see Games Workshop can still sculpt good horses, at least. I gotta say though, the funniest moment of this entire event occurred during the Glorfindel reveal. It was so cruel. I could feel the tomato popping in my mouth as this all went down. For a second, I was Denethor, uncaringly sending my only son to his death. Everyone was so excited for Glorfindel. They were all screaming, yes, in the chat. There was applause, there was tears of joy. And then it was revealed that the model is a Forge World Resin exclusive, and oh no. The despair that erupted from the chat. Oh, tears of joy turned to ash. It was a bombshell. What can man do against such reckless hate? And yeah, that sucks. The model looks good, but I mean, the price won't. Also in resin, there was Rummel and, let me look at it, Orthim? I have no idea about them. Apparently they're some elves. I don't know, they look fine. There was new casts of guards of the Gladream Court revealed as well. I thought this was a little bit weird. They already have models, but apparently those old models are like in Citadel resin. The new ones are gonna be in Forge World resin. So, I mean, a bit of an upgrade, I guess, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. And honestly, I kind of prefer the old models, at least in terms of aesthetic. Arguably better, in my opinion. But the big boy that got the most cheers during this entire event has to be the one, the only, Hugo Weaving. Sorry, I mean Elrond. And he's in plastic as well. Huzzah! He looks good. I think that the version of him on the horse looks a lot better than the version of him on foot. The foot version doesn't even look like Hugo Weaving. Come on. He's gotta be, I mean, the whole point of this bottle is to have a little mini Hugo Weaving. Kind of a disappointment. I would have liked to have been able to green stuff on a suit and pretend I was playing a Matrix game. Would have been pretty neat. But the horsey rider version of him looks pretty good. I like his anger. I am accustomed to such rage. Elrond also comes with a pretty cool little banner. Apparently it's the banner of the King of the Elves or something lame like that. Oh, I'm gonna get killed. I mean, I thought Elrond was the King of the Elves, but whatever, I guess. But it looks good, and the design here is sculpted onto the plastic as well, which, you know, for people with clown hands like myself, it's pretty welcome. And that's it. That's everything. Where the fuck is my Two Towers reveal? There was meant to be an announcement related to Two Towers. I mean, it was the 20th anniversary of the Two Towers. Hello? This feels like a bit of a bait and switch. I was hoping for a new Wormtongue model. Or a Wormtongue faction, or an entire new book based on a hypothetical future where Wormtongue won the throne of Rohan. And you could play as an evil, some would say it's evil, but really it's the good faction of Rohan. The ones who served Wormtongue. Maybe his men didn't take pity on an old man and got rid of that wizard's staff. It's like the one thing Wormtongue told those guys to do. Come on, Games Workshop, give the people what they want. More Grima Wormtongue. Or at least what I want. So yeah, as a reveal, I mean, it was kind of big, but it wasn't like a dent on what Games Workshop revealed for Warhammer 40k, like in an afternoon. Like at a lunch meeting by accident. So yeesh, I mean, I could be cynical about this event. I could say that it only happened because Games Workshop kind of need to be seen to be doing something with the license. You know, otherwise they might lose it, especially considering there's a lot of spotlighting on The Lord of the Rings right now with Amazon's Ring of Power. And so they, as they do tend to do, have wheeled out a perfunctory couple of releases here. Just essentially to say, see, we're doing stuff with the license. I mean, it was hardly a 20th anniversary of the Two Towers level of reveal. Where was my Helm's Deep set? I don't know, maybe the only way that we'll actually get some really exciting stuff, some new stuff for the Lord of the Rings is, I don't know, maybe the Rings of Power will truly grab the public zeitgeist and then we'll all become ringers again, or ringheads, or whatever it is those nerds who like Lord of the Rings call themselves. So overall, it was a very cautious step from Games Workshop in what I would call their third core game. Or at least it has the potential to be their third core game. or at the very least has the potential to be much bigger than Horus Heresy. But all that we got was some hero units. There was no new profiles as far as I was aware. No new infantry units either. Some of the models shown in this event are over 20 years old. But to be honest, between you and me, I gotta be honest, I think some of those Lord of the Rings troop choices, I think those infantry sculpts hold up. I think a lot of them look fine. And if a new update means that they're gonna go up almost 50% in price, I think it's better that they stay the way they are. Though for real, 4 Urukai with crossbows cost $30? This is meant to be an army level game. What the fuck? It's ridiculous price. And if you enjoyed my analysis of this event, why not check out my recent terrifying glimpse into Games Workshop's future at their summer skirmish event? You can see that here. And as always, a huge thank you to Sonic Bread and Beauregard Equipment, and to all my patrons. Thank you so much. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye!